Hi everyone, my name is Juliet Gandor, and today I'll be doing an FBA and FA review. An FBA is a functional behavioral assessment and an FA is a functional analysis. So like I said, my name is Juliet Gandor. I am enrolled in BSU's master's program for ABA. My estimated graduation date is July of 2023. And I am also completing supervision to sit for the BACB exam to become a BCBA in the future. I have about an estimated 18 months left in supervision. So my current field experience is at a private ABA school called Garden Academy. It's strictly a school for students diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, and we practice just strictly ABA. So my plan to practice, ideally I'd like to remain at Garden Academy. I'm currently an instructor there. I would like to one day be a BCBA at that school. So my experience, I do have some experience in conducting FBAs and FAs. Recently, I have been a part of two different functional analyses. One was specifically for escape and non-compliance behaviors, and I also participated in a synthesized functional analysis. To start, I observed the FA being conducted by my supervisor and the clinical director of my supervision site. After a couple sessions of observation, I was then able to participate in data collection under the supervision of my supervisor and the clinical director. I was able to conduct the different conditions of the FA. Again, I observed first, then was able to participate in conducting them as well. After the FA was complete, I was also able to observe and participate in graphing the data for the functional analysis. So part one, behavior assessment. When should a behavior assessment be conducted? A behavior assessment should be conducted if a student's behavior is interfering with the student's learning or learning of others when trying to obtain information about the function of behaviors for individuals. That's when behavior assessments should be conducted. They're used to identify the type and source of reinforcement for challenging behaviors. So through this, we are identifying what reinforcers are maintaining the challenging behaviors. So how do you determine when you should conduct a functional behavior assessment? So as stated above, when these behaviors are interfering with an individual's learning or the learning of others, if the behavior is harmful to the person or other people around them. So in FBAs, it's a process which the variables influencing problem behaviors are identified. So it is then identified an effective treatment for severe problem behavior. So what constitutes problem behavior? Problem behavior are behaviors that interfere with communication or social interactions and relations. If behaviors interfere with learning, or if behaviors cause harm to the individual or to others who surround them. So these different kinds of behaviors are what are constituted as problem behaviors. So an FBA versus an FA. An FA is a functional analysis. So functional analysis changes the environment in order to see a child's behavior. We test through an FA, we test how certain changes impact the occurrence of problem behavior. So basically in an FA, different conditions are contrived to see how that affects behaviors. So in an FA, conditions include an attention condition. So during the attention condition, attention is given to the individual when they engage in that target behavior. During the escape condition, aversive stimuli is removed when the child engages in the target behavior. During the tangible condition, when the target behavior is being engaged in, they're given access to preferred tangibles. And then there's sensory, which is automatic reinforcement. So the behavior usually automatically fulfills the individual sensory need. Each condition is tested separately. There's also a control condition where they're given the learner or the person who the FA is being conducted on is given access to their favorite tangibles, attention. So that's like the control condition. During each condition, data is collected and conditions are ran multiple times until there's enough data collected. functional behavior assessment, which is FBA. So the functional behavior assessment looks at the child's behavior in their own environment, excuse me. So unlike an FA, an FBA is conducted in a learner's own environment. Environments are not contrived during an FBA. So an FBA is there's a review of existing data. Interviews are also done with parents and teachers and other staff. Observation of the behavior is done without testing anything directly. And FBAs do not necessarily involve testing like FAs do. That is collected such as ABC data during FBAs, which means antecedent, behavioral, and consequence data. So there are differences between an FA and an FBA. An FA is contrived. More specifically, environments are changed in order to see child's behavior and how it's affected. And an FBA is done in a child's own naturalistic environment. So at my supervision site, which is Garden Academy, as I mentioned before, it's a private school, strictly for ABA. So does my organization conduct FBAs, FAs, or both? Both FAs and FBAs are conducted at Garden Academy. At my supervision site, FAs are commonly run within my organization. Prior to starting supervision, I heard about FAs. I didn't get a chance to participate in them then. However, once I started supervision, I was exposed to FAs and was able to participate in them as well. So when should you use an FA versus an FBA? So typically FBAs are conducted first. So parent interviews, teacher interviews, naturalistic data collection in the child's natural environment. Then interventions can be created based off of that information. If after an FBA is conducted, if we're still unable to identify why behaviors are occurring through an FBA, then an FA would typically then be conducted. So indirect assessment, staff interview, parent interview, ABC data collection is done during an FBA. And after that, if we're still unsure the functions of the behavior, then an FA would then be conducted. However, parent approval and signature is required for an FA. So part 2, organization, Garden Academy, and FAs. So there are steps that need to be followed before an FA is conducted. During these steps, a document is put together, typically by the BCBA, and it contains all the information necessary for the FA for review by the client's parents, the BCBA who's putting this document together, the clinical director, and the child study team representative. So document is put together containing all the information about the FA, what it's going to look like, how it's run, and that has to be reviewed by each of these parties. So first, typically at the top of that document, the target behavior would be identified and operationally defined for the purpose of the FA, just so we know what is the target behavior. So it's clearly stated at the top and defined so all parties know the target behavior and what that behavior looks like. Underneath that, the select conditions for the FA are listed, which is tangible condition, attention condition, demand, toy play. Under each condition, there's subsections that list the materials necessary for each condition, stimulus conditions, the consequences that will occur for when target behaviors occur, and the consequences that will occur for other behaviors that occur as well. All those are listed under each condition in that FA. There's also a section for general procedures that just explains about how long each condition will last. Typically at Garden Academy, when FAs are run, conditions last about 5 minutes per condition. Once an FA is conducted, data is collected, and then data will then be graphed. How long does the behavior assessment process take from beginning to end? Process varies from case to case basis, depends on the number of conditions that need to be ran, and also depends on how much data needs to be collected for a condition, and if data is conclusive or inconclusive. Conclusion. what I would like to learn more about. The FBA process is something I would like to learn a little more about, more specifically parent interviews. I have not been able to observe a parent interview, just had brief conversations with my BCBA about those. However, I'd like to learn more, see what they would look like, the type of information being collected, and I would ideally like to observe a parent interview occurring. I'd also like to learn more about intervention creation and what that would look like for target behaviors, and how do the assessments conducted in your field experience placement compare to what you have learned in your coursework. It's been fairly similar what I learned in my coursework to what I've seen hands-on in conducting FAs. So the coursework has been helpful. Having that background knowledge and information learned through my coursework has helped me understand FAs being conducted, what they look like, what to expect. And I do have a question for my classmates. I'm just curious if anybody has any experience conducting either FBAs, FAs, or have you ever conducted an FA in which yielded inconclusive results? So out of the 2 FAs that I've conducted, one of them yielded inconclusive results. So even after the FA was conducted, the function of the behaviors for the target behaviors were still unidentified. I have also was able to get a functional analysis session description from my supervision site. This is just a sample, it's a template. This information is hypothetical. This is sort of a shell of what a functional analysis document would look like. Towards the top is the child's name, behavior, the purpose, then it would be the definition, the general procedure, which I mentioned before discusses the duration of each condition, the material, stimulus, control, consequences for each condition. So that would look like this. For each condition, it's listed. The type of data that will be collected, what the behavior would look like in the description. And at the bottom, underneath these 2, there's 2 more lines, one for the child study team representative for the student and the parents of the student. So it would be signed by the BCBA, the clinical director, child study team representative, and the parent of the student. And here are my 3 references that were used to gather all my information. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this presentation has been helpful, and I hope now the differences between an FBA and an FA will be noted. Thank you so much for watching.